Hey everybody, checking back in with the U.S. marijuana sector, and we've got a lot of the U.S. looking up at Canada, looking at what those charts are doing, breaking out to huge gains, and they're a little bit green with envy. Understandably so. We're still weak after the vote, and it's very clear that money left the U.S. and went into Canadian names. Those names are in blue sky breakout, meaning there's little resistance, and that's why we're seeing huge gains every day. Canadian names are extremely bullish compared to these U.S. charts. And again, I get a bunch of people not happy with what I'm saying with the U.S. sector here, and I'm just telling it like it is. And the Canadian names get the videos, get so many more views. There's a lot more attention on the Canadian sector due to legitimacy, due to the blue sky breakouts, and due to the big gains that are going on over there. It's just a fact of what is going on. So now looking at the U.S. names, if you saw the video over the weekend, it's playing out pretty much as anticipated at this point. We're looking at low volume bounces, lower highs being formed, and I said watch the 10-day moving average resistance, and most of these names today rejected from their 10-day moving average resistance. So the charts are doing a great job. If you look back at any of the videos that I put out, and this is not me pumping my ego, anybody that can learn technical analysis and read charts is going to have a nice time trading and analyzing these Canadian and U.S. marijuana names. They've been very straightforward for the past 3 weeks, and that's led to some very easy charting. So looking at MJNA on the daily, we had our big bullish reversal hammer off the 50-day moving average support. We confirmed it, but look at the volume. Look at the bear volume each time we've seen these two big red candlesticks, and look at the bull volume that was able to put together on this bounce attempt. So we rejected from the 10-day moving average resistance of 14.5. We closed right at the middle Bollinger Band of 12.9. And now I do expect to find an equilibrium, and what that means is forming a lower high, higher low after this dump, tightening that range. So I do expect some further pullback. I do expect support to be found around 10 or 11 cents, and then a clear tightening range on decreasing volume that will lead to a clear break likely early next week. So I'll keep an eye on these names, and I'll keep doing these videos every couple of days. But as of right now, that is the setup that I'm looking for: a higher low, lower high, tightening range. Weekly time frame, bulls are trying to hold the 200-week moving average of 12 cents. If we close below it, we'll be looking to the downside. And if we close above it, we'll regain breakout mode. This upper Bollinger Band is 13 cents. So ideal scenario for the bulls is a close above 13 cents by the end of the day Friday. And you can see just how low this volume is compared to the previous 2 weeks. And I'm going to be putting out a bit of a lesson video here later tonight about inside candlesticks. And we have a weekly inside candlestick forming here. So if you have interest in learning a new little trick for technical analysis, a lot of traders use it. Check out that video. GRNH, rejecting from the 10-day moving average resistance, declining bull volume on the bounce. Bullish reversal candlestick confirmed, but rejected from the 10-day at 0.095. We did hold the 50-day at 0.081. But bulls want to see increasing volume on an uptrend showing strength, and we saw decreasing bull volume. And again, it does not compare to the bear volume days. If you're bullish and holding long, I know this isn't what you want to be hearing, but I'm just going to be spitting facts here and trying to be as straightforward reading this chart. Again, I don't have any positions in U.S. marijuana names, and at this point, I don't have any positions in Canadian marijuana names. I'm just trading these names, not really swinging many overnight, even though swinging has been leading to some big gains. So same thing, I do expect a higher low to form from GRNH. The last thing that the bulls want to see tomorrow is a red day on increased bear volume for any of these names. So we'll look for a higher low to form, and then a lower high, a tightening range, and then a clear break likely early next week. Weekly time frame for GRNH has had much more of a significant pullback. The bulls are trying to hold the 10-week moving average support like they did last week. That level is 0.082, and that's the goal for the bulls to close above by the end of this week. A clear lower high pattern on the weekly time frame as we consolidate. But on the overall trend, this isn't a very bearish move back. You can see we are still forming higher lows. If we were to lose 4 cents, that would be a disaster for this longer-term chart, but we're obviously 100% above that level. So the bulls are still in control of this longer-term trend looking back a year and a half on GRNH. Obviously, if we zoom back to 2014, we are not in an uptrend, but this uptrend for the past year and a half is still intact. Looking in at hemp, it is one of the weaker names. Need to zoom in a little bit to get rid of that one day that screws up the charts. So it's a lot weaker for hemp, and just telling it like it is. There's the increasing bear volume, very low bull volume bounce, rejecting from the 10-day moving average resistance of 0.037, lower highs and lower lows, And we're pretty much back to where this bull move started to begin for hemp. Looking back the past 3 months, that is, we bounced off 0.026. That's a must-hold support. We'll see if we can form a higher low, lower high tightening range, but we have seen a bit more pullback on hemp than any other names. And looking at hemp on the weekly time frame, if this week, if we close below 0.0312, we will lose all moving averages on the weekly time frame as support, and we will be looking down at lows in the 2-cent range. CBIS also had a lower high and a lower low, bullish reversal candlestick, decreasing bull volume, didn't even test the 10-day moving average resistance before starting to pull back. You can see how correlated all these names are together. The past 3 days are pretty much all the same in terms of volume and price action and candlestick shape. So same thing, looking for higher lows, lower highs, tightening range, and looking for a clear break. Once that becomes more clear, I'll do a video again on these Thursday, and we should have a clear tight pattern with a key support and a key resistance level. For all of these names, if they break the high of yesterday, that is a bullish break in the short term, and we are looking back at the pre-election, pre-vote levels. So that's a key resistance. The high for all of these names, the high of Monday is a key resistance point. Then if we do break that, we'll be looking short-term bullish for continuation, and that would be ideal scenario for the bulls. CBIS on the weekly, back testing and rejecting from the 200-week resistance, 0.0505. Bulls really want to close above that level. Otherwise, it does look like some weakness, and we will likely test the 10-week moving average support in the coming weeks, again, like we did last week. TRTC, even weaker. Look at the big bear volume. The highest volume candlestick seen in the past 3 months belonged to the bears. Some of it was bulls buying the dip with that lower wick, but then look at the next day, another big bear volume. So it's notable bear volume. Look at how pitiful the bull volume is compared to it. And we did see the bulls buy the dip today. This is the most bullish candlestick today out of any that we've looked at, but we are still far away from the 10-day moving average resistance. 0.043 is a little double top, and the 10-day moving average resistance will be right around 0.043 tomorrow. So it's a very clear pattern on all these names of lower highs and lower lows, and I get thumbs down and people not liking that, but it's a fact. Lower highs and lower lows over the past few weeks, and that trend has to break for the bulls to come back here. And all you need to do is look at all these Canadian names and not trying to make all these U.S. investors jealous, investor traders, but CGC.to, full-on breakout mode. And then we have the laggards following along, MTV, full-on breakout mode, APH.V, breaking out. All of these are blue sky, increasing bull volume. You could not have a more perfect bullish chart on all of these names. APH.V broke out to highs today, ACB.V, and you really just go down the list, and these huge candlesticks breaking to highs, you really can find dozen or over a half dozen at least that are just full-on bull mode, 100% gainers. So last we'll look at AMMJ here. Same thing, decreasing volume. That was all bear volume on Thursday of last week, and it was the highest volume in the past 3 months, completely belonging to the bears, decreasing bull volume on the bounce, rejecting from 140 10-day moving average resistance, and looking for a higher low. So you may think I have a bias of bearish, and that is true. I do have a bearish bias on these U.S. names right now because we are forming lower highs and lower lows. All you need to do is look back at the videos I've been putting out, and it shows exactly what the charts are saying. It shows a low volume bounce, a 10-day moving average resistance. That's what my last video expected. Before the votes, every single video that I put out was the first thing I said was anticipate a sell the news reaction. We saw this in 2012. We saw the polls that were very clear and looking for a pullback and a sell the news reaction. And it's very clear that the money shifted out of the U.S. into the Canada. And now we're going to see if the bulls can recover and change this lower high trend. As of right now, they can't. They need the bull volume to show back up. Maybe that will be the case when Canadian names start consolidating, once we start seeing some profit taking in those Canadian names. But they're coming out with earnings right now, and these earnings are unlike anything that any of these U.S. marijuana companies have seen. And that's because they're operating in a legal environment, and they're seeing millions of dollars in revenue. And we have a couple U.S. names that see that kind. But in reality, most of these U.S. penny stocks really just are being dwarfed in comparison by the legitimate industry up in Canada, and those are just new stocks, and that's why they're all in blue sky breakout mode. These U.S. stocks have been around 6 years. They've had 6 years to inflate their share structure. Their debt structure has been poor. They haven't been able to get profit that allows them to operate without selling shares, and these Canadian names are getting that. So in reality, long-term investment right now, Canada is the place to be. And again, you can disagree with my opinion. That's perfectly fine. We're all going to have different opinions. I'm not always going to be right. And I appreciate you watching. So I'll come back with a video on Thursday. See you then.